Many thanks for staying with us. Earlier on the news, we told you that President Bola Tinubu said that he is attentive and sensitive to the plight of Nigerians owing to the economic hardship that a lot of people are said to be faced with. And that is on the backdrop of the Minister of Finance, Wale Edun, coming out to say that the policies of government are beginning to bear fruits. And now to help us understand this better, we now have Aliyu Ilias, who is a public affairs analyst, to help us, of course, talk about this and put it in a more better perspective. Thank you so much, Mr. Aliyu, for joining us on the news.
Thank you for having me.
So earlier on, I asked you what your thoughts were as regards the statements coming from President Bola Tinubu saying that he is attentive to the yearnings and the cries of Nigerians. And I'm wondering if you also buy that line.
Right. I think that statement is expected from a government because what they are doing, they believe they are doing it to the benefit of people. But it's left for we as citizens to also assess the government and tell them if they at all they are listening to Nigeria. You agree with me that you recall that the issue of cyber security levy, there was an outcry that government should reverse it. It was actually reversed. But there's also an issue of fuel subsidy removal, which we think reinstating the fuel subsidy would have solved the problem. So for citizens, yes, you are reversing some, but the ultimate one that is actually affecting the whole Nigeria, which is issue of fuel subsidy removal, is not being removed. So I think government is right to say, yes, we are listening to you. Why citizens also have their own say that, yes, you may think you are listening to us. You have to do what we expect you to do. Perhaps you could also see President Tinubu go ahead to buy something for his office. You could also see the National Assembly trying to also buy a vehicle for themselves. So it's quite, it depends on which side you want to also listen to. For me, citizens are asking for a better standard of living and increased purchasing power.
In terms of government expenditure that you mentioned earlier, the couple of things that this administration has spent billions of naira on that do not directly or indirectly affect the well-being of Nigerians, do you think there's any justification for this kind of spending in this economic hardship?
Right. I think what I only want to say is that it appears as if the government is deceiving Nigerians, because if you recall, the issue of the aircraft that government just purchased, it was on the front burner where there was a debate: should they go ahead, should they not go ahead? But by the time the issue of the seizure of aircraft came about, it now became open that so federal government has actually purchased this aircraft. You also remember the issue of VH. Upon that Nigerians say no, it is not the right thing, they still go ahead to purchase. So for me, I think government are conscious of satisfying their own immediate need, both the legislative and also the executive. They are eager to serve their own self, while they are not that quick to solve the Nigerian problem. And a good example is the issue of CNG. You recall the president actually removed fuel subsidy on the first day he assumed office. Having assumed office, that 1 year down the line, I can tell you that, in fact, I can't say we have 3% of Nigerians on CNG. That's one challenge. Number two challenge is that you will also recall that the refinery in Port Harcourt was said that it will come on board so that it will ease the affairs of Nigerians. Up till now, it has not still come on board. So it appears they are eager to do what will satisfy them, why they take what is in need for granted.
Would that now mean that the several initiatives that this administration has rolled out are actually insignificant? I'm talking about the fact that this administration appended its signature to the 70,000 naira minimum wage, rolled out palliatives, student loans. You mentioned the CNG, although I'd asked a guest earlier and he said all those are not really talking about ameliorating the plight of Nigerians. But then I'd like to get your perspective on that also when we talk about cushioning the pangs of this economic pain.
Now, if you talked about the increase in salary, how many are the number of the civil servants in Nigeria? I'm not sure they're up to 15 million. When you add state, local government, and federal government together, I'm not up to. And how many percentage of that for Nigeria compared to the purchasing power of Nigeria that has been eroded? Perhaps, even if you look at the increment, it's just about $40 or so. So imagine at this present Nigeria, we're having $40 as salary compared to the value of dollar. You agree with me that it's insignificant. You know, in fact, if you look at the increment so far, salary increment, this is the lowest that we ever had. So it's not about the 70,000 naira, it's about the value of 70,000 naira. Then the government go ahead to bring about different palliative. As an economist, we are not very, very disposed to palliative because it's just an intervention that will last. If you give an household 100,000 within 2 months, they will spend the money. So after 2 months, what happened next? So that's why some of us say, in the place of giving palliative, why not use this money to make sure that there is President Tinubu actually give 10 billion for each state for them to purchase CNG. Why not increase to 50 billion? You know, so that we know that don't give this palliative. Create CNG, whereby by the time we have cheaper transport system, it will put money back into our pocket and we'll have more purchasing power. So if you look at what they are doing, for me, I think this government needs to go back and have a blueprint for economic decision in terms of short-term plan, medium-term plan, and long-term plan. It won't be cut and join or being reactive, not being proactive. So we want them to be more proactive by having a plan that will entail the national, the states, and local government, and even private sector will key into it. That is what I think we need at this point.
Aliyu Ilias, public affairs analyst, thank you so much for sharing your thoughts with us on the news.
Thank you for having me.